Sit down. Let me tell you about a woman named Diana and what they did to her on the night someone's life depended on getting it right. Diana had driven 40 minutes in the rain, no traffic, no delays. She had made good time, which was important because good time was exactly what the man on that operating table did not have much of. She pushed through the hospital's side entrance at 9:47 p.m., still in the clothes she'd been wearing at dinner. Dark jeans, a gray zip-up, hair pulled back the way she always wore it when she wasn't thinking about how she looked, which was most of the time. She walked directly toward the surgical floor. She knew this hospital, knew every corridor, every elevator bank, every shortcut between the parking structure and OR3. She had been walking these halls for 11 years. The nurse appeared at the restricted door before Diana's hand reached it. Young, efficient, the kind of efficient that tips into something else when it's pointed at the wrong person. "Excuse me, this area is staff only." Diana looked at her calmly. "I know. I'm Dr. Diana Okafor." The nurse's expression didn't change. "I'm going to need to see your credentials." "My badge is in my locker. I came straight from dinner." "Then I can't let you through." Diana looked at the door, then back at the nurse. "There's a patient in OR3 with a grade 4 brain bleed. The procedure requires a specific surgical technique that very few people in this state are trained to perform." She paused. "I'm one of them." The nurse crossed her arms. "The surgeon has been called. She'll be here shortly." "I am the surgeon." A beat of silence. Then the nurse reached for her radio. "I need security to the surgical floor entrance. We have an unauthorized individual attempting to access a restricted area." Diana stood completely still. Behind her, somewhere down the corridor, a monitor alarm began to sound. The security guard was named Henderson. Big man, calm demeanor. The kind of person who had learned a long time ago that most situations resolve themselves if you give them enough space. He looked at Diana, then at the nurse, then back at Diana. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back from this door." "There is a patient bleeding into his brain right now," Diana said, her voice completely level. "Every minute I stand in this hallway is a minute he doesn't have." "I understand that, ma'am, but I can't let you through without authorization." "Then get me authorization." Henderson reached for his radio. The nurse had already called Dr. Marsh, the attending physician on duty. He arrived 2 minutes later. White coat, reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, the particular expression of a man who had been interrupted from something and wasn't pleased about it. He looked at Diana once, just once. "What's the situation?" "This woman claims to be the surgeon on call," the nurse said. "She has no badge, no credentials, no verification." Marsh looked Diana up and down. The gray zip-up, the dark jeans, the absence of anything that looked to him like what a surgeon was supposed to look like. "What's your name?" "Dr. Diana Okafor, Chief of Neurosurgery." A flicker of something crossed Marsh's face. Not recognition, something closer to doubt. The kind of doubt that makes people reach for procedures instead of common sense. "I'll need to verify that through the system." "How long will that take?" "However long it takes." Diana turned toward the door. Behind it, muffled but unmistakable, the monitor alarm was still sounding. A different pitch now, faster. "Dr. Marsh." Her voice was quiet, but it filled the entire corridor. "That alarm changed frequency 30 seconds ago. Do you know what that means?" Marsh said nothing. It means he's herniating. She looked at him steadily. If I'm not in that room in the next 4 minutes, you won't need a surgeon anymore. Marsh looked at Henderson. Henderson looked at the nurse. The nurse looked at the door. Nobody moved. And Diana stood there in her gray zip-up in the corridor she had walked for 11 years and waited for someone to make the right decision. Nobody did. Diana reached into her zip-up pocket, not for a badge, not for her phone, for nothing dramatic at all. She pulled out a single business card, worn at the edges, the kind you carry for years because you forget it's there. She placed it on the nurse's station counter without a word. Then she turned to the door. "Ma'am," Henderson started. "I can't let you—" "Henderson." She said his name quietly, like she'd said it before. He stopped. "Now, before I tell you what happened next, I want to hear from you. Have you ever stood in a hallway where every second mattered and watched people choose procedure over sense? Drop it in the comments. Because what Diana did in the next 30 seconds, nobody in that corridor was ready for it. She looked at Marsh directly. "Call Dr. Patricia Webb. She's the hospital director. Her personal number is on that card." Diana nodded toward the counter. "Tell her Diana is at the OR3 entrance. She'll know what to do." Marsh picked up the card slowly, looked at it. His expression shifted, something between recognition and the particular shame of a man who has just understood the size of his mistake but hasn't admitted it yet. He dialed. It rang once. "Patricia Webb." "Dr. Webb, this is Marsh, surgical floor. I have a woman here claiming to be—" "Put her on." Marsh looked at the phone, then at Diana. He held it out without a word. Diana took it. "Patricia." "Diana, what's happening?" "OR3. Grade 4, bleed. I've been standing in this hallway for 6 minutes." A pause. Then Webb's voice, no longer warm. Something much harder underneath it. "Henderson, open that door right now. Marsh, get a team prepped. Move." Henderson's key card was out before she finished the sentence. The door opened. Diana walked through without looking back. Behind her, the business card still sat on the counter. Plain white, simple black text. Dr. Diana Okafor, Chief of Neurosurgery. 11 years of service. Nobody had thought to read it. The surgery took 2 hours and 14 minutes. Diana worked in silence, the particular silence of someone who has learned to leave everything outside the door when they step into an operating room. The anger, the 6 minutes in the hallway, the look on Marsh's face when he held out that phone. All of it stayed outside. Inside OR3, there was only the work. And Diana was very good at the work. When she finally stepped out, gloves off, mask down, the particular exhaustion of precision on her face. Dr. Patricia Webb was waiting in the corridor, not alone. The chief of staff stood beside her, the head of nursing, 2 members of the hospital board who happened to be in the building for a late meeting and had been briefed on what happened in the last 3 hours. Webb looked at Diana for a long moment. "He's stable?" "He'll need monitoring for 48 hours, Diana said. "But yes, he's stable." Webb nodded slowly. Then she turned. Marsh was standing at the end of the corridor, still in his white coat, reading glasses still pushed up on his forehead. Beside him, the nurse. Henderson had positioned himself quietly near the wall, the way people do when they want to be present but not implicated. "Dr. Marsh," Webb said. Her voice was perfectly controlled, which made it worse. "My office, 8 a.m. Marsh said nothing, and I'll need a full written account of every decision made in this corridor tonight. She looked at the nurse. From everyone. The nurse looked at the business card still sitting on the counter. Plain white, simple black text. She picked it up slowly, the way you pick something up when you realize you should have read it a long time ago. Diana watched all of it without satisfaction, without anger, with the quiet steadiness of a woman who had known from the moment she placed that card on the counter exactly how this was going to end. She reached for her zip-up, zipped it back up. "I'll be back at 6 for rounds," she told Webb simply, and walked back down the corridor she had walked for 11 years. Same hallway, same fluorescent lights, same hospital. Just a woman going home after a long night. The work was done. Diana never made a formal complaint. She went home, slept 4 hours, came back at 6 for rounds, the way she always did, the way she had done for 11 years. Marsh was placed on administrative review pending investigation. The nurse was reassigned pending retraining. Henderson kept his job because Diana specifically asked that he did. He had been doing what he was told. That was different from what the others had done. The patient, a 52-year-old teacher named Gerald, never knew any of it had happened. He woke up 2 days later, asking for water and wondering why his head hurt. Diana sat with him for 11 minutes on a Tuesday morning between rounds. Didn't tell him what the night had looked like. Just checked his chart, asked how he felt, told him the worst was behind him. He thanked her. She said it was her job, and she meant it. That's the thing about people like Diana. They don't do the work for the recognition. They don't show up because someone is watching. They show up because there is work to be done, and they are the ones who know how to do it. 6 minutes in that hallway. 6 minutes that could have cost Gerald everything. And Diana never once raised her voice. Never once lost her composure. Never once stopped being exactly who she was, even when every person in that corridor had decided, without asking, that she was something less. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the most qualified person in the room and still had to prove you belong there? Tell me in the comments. Because Diana's story belongs to every woman who has ever been underestimated in a moment that mattered. Subscribe to Brother Marcus Speaks. New stories every week. Stories about the people who get pushed to the side and walk through the door anyway, every single time, with patience, with purpose, and with the quiet certainty of a woman who zipped up her jacket, walked back down that corridor, and went home to get 4 hours of sleep before doing it all again, because that's what she did every night, and nobody had to know.